What was the creepiest or most paranormal thing that's ever happened to you? Creepy for me, I was having a tense conversation with someone that I was close to years ago. The conversation quickly devolved into a passive-aggressive fight that ended with the other person getting in the car and driving away. As I started heading back inside, the other person came back, got out of the car, and started our conversation again. The tone of voice was totally different and the stance was different and the feeling in the air was completely off. I don't know how else to explain it. As the conversation progressed, the other person started saying some nasty and mean things that were completely out of character. I said, "This isn't like you, person." They said, "What makes you think that I'm person?" I remember continuing the conversation and talking to the person for a long time, but I don't remember anything specific. I do remember becoming more and more alarmed and knowing something wasn't right. Finally, I told the person to go home. They complied and left. I went back inside and started telling my sibling about the situation when the doorbell rang. Maybe 2-3 minutes had passed. It was the person coming back to apologize for the original fight. They had been driving around town for a long time and didn't want to go home, leaving things unresolved. I asked why they had said some of the things from the last conversation, and they looked at me like I was crazy. They had no idea what I was talking about. Totally could have been lying, but that whole situation just felt dark, scared the hell out of me. I was a manager of computer repair for a retailer a couple years ago. We had a client's computer in the back running various malware and virus scans. I was doing morning paperwork in the back near the computer. This PC had its screensaver on, displaying random photos from the My Pictures folder, various family members, children's birthday parties, the usual stuff. Then from then of my eye, I swear to God, I saw a picture of a woman from the shoulders up with her throat cut. As soon as I realized what I was making out, I directed my full attention, and it was back to photos of a car show. As the day went on, I thought nothing of it, and proceeded to continue my work until I was bringing another customer's PC to the back to work on, and again, from my peripheral, I could have sworn I saw a bloody body inbound in a trunk of a car. At that moment, I began to freak out. I grabbed one of my employees, explained to him the situation. We then sat for 10 minutes and watched the screensaver. It is against company policy to search through the client's personal files without absolute just cause. We then proceeded to see a photo, 2 bodies in a shallow grave out in the woods, and another photo of a severed hand down in kitchen drawer. I then went and got the general manager and informed him of the situation and had him view the screensaver. We then felt that I would be in everyone's best interest to contact law enforcement. In about 15 minutes later, owner of the computer and another gentleman show up. I proceed to tell him that his computer is not ready and it will be a while. He then informs me that he was called there because someone reported there was some photographs of a grisly murder that we had found. I showed him his computer, and then his partner then begins to laugh at him. Apparently, he went against police policy and took some of his work home with him and had never noticed his work photos were being used as a screensaver. I was living with my now mother-in-law in a house she had just purchased a few months before. We had all had various weird feelings or experiences in the house, but to really stick out, collectively, there were 3 dogs living in the house at the time. One evening we are all sitting with our backs to the hallway. This is significant, watching a movie. All of a sudden my German Shepherd and my terrier both perk up their ears and start staring down the hallway behind where we are sitting. I mean, full attention. I notice and turn around, the light in the hall was off. It was dark, but of course don't see anything. 5 minutes later, they're still staring and now growling. This time my wife and I turn around and we both watch as the light switch on the wall gets flipped to on. Dogs went crazy and so did we. A few weeks later, same scenario, light is off and we are watching a movie. My German Shepherd loved to play fetch and we always had a million balls around to entertain her. This time, she's staring down the hallway and wagging her damn tail. This time, we all notice again and start to watch. I swear to God, a ball, single orange tennis ball, came rolling down the hallway towards her. We all went white. There were a few others, but Jesus, I hated that hallway. It never felt like a bad energy, but my feeble little brain was still scared nonetheless. Edit. One more story. My mom-in-law was having these dreams a few weeks after moving in about the house catching on fire and burning to the ground with us all inside. Horrible. About 3 weeks after these dreams, we woke up one morning and distinctly smelled smoke coming from the house somewhere. Panicked, we all started searching and eventually came to the garage. On a rafter, we noticed a smoke coming out from around a fluorescent light fixture. At that moment I realized, my God, it's attached directly to this old dried out beam. The light was left on all night, and it was clearly burning the rafter ever so slightly. Lights are not supposed to be secured or screwed onto a rafter like that, so we like to think our ghost hosts were looking out for all of us. After that, her dream stopped. Thanks, Ghosty. Not creepy, but definitely paranormal. I was about 17 and was in my bedroom crying my eyes out over something. Home could be difficult at times, and that evening I was really upset. I really needed someone to talk to, but the only phone in the house was downstairs where my parents were, so calling a friend wasn't an option. I didn't know what to do to deal with the crap I was trying to live with and really felt that it couldn't go on for much longer. I remember thinking, please, someone, just help me. Not a prayer as such. I'm not really sure if that does any good. More sort of a mental scream into the void. There was definitely no one in the room with me. It was a tiny room, and I had my back to a chest of drawers. And then I felt a something on my left shoulder, as if someone was standing behind me and resting their hand on me. I could feel the weight of each individual finger, and the palm cupping my shoulder, and I could feel warmth from it. It didn't scare me, but it was enough to stop me crying. I guess the feeling lasted for a minute or so, and then just stopped. I have no idea what it was, but it was enough to calm me down. I wish I could feel it again. I was 15-ish and babysitting a neighbor girl down the road from my parents' house. The house was older, but I never thought it was creepy. They also had this awful rat terrier that would bark at everything. Worst dog ever. Once the girl went to bed, I sat in the living room and was watching TV. The dog started freaking out, but instead of barking at the door like normal, she started barking at the corner of the room. Then she would run to another room and bark and come back to where I was, like she was following something. Finally, she stayed to the kitchen barking for a solid 2 minutes. Afraid that she was going to wake the girl up, I went into the kitchen to quiet her down. When I walked in, I froze and saw that every single cabinet door in the kitchen was open. All of them. I grabbed the dog and ran to the living room. After she stopped barking, I went back into the kitchen and closed everything. Thankfully, the dad finally came home soon after. I refused to go back and my parents never believed me. I still get freaked out when I think about it. I don't smoke and I don't have many friends who do, but I keep several ashtrays at home, just in case. So, one day, about a year ago, I was looking for some papers and I found one of those ashtrays in one of the cupboards. It was completely empty and quite clean, BW. I was pretty busy that day, so instead of putting the ashtray back in the cupboard, I just laid it on the kitchen table and went to do some repair work in the garage. I returned inside the house about an hour later, and the ashtray, still lying on the kitchen table, was filled with cigarette ash. No cigarette butts, just ash. I felt a faint scent of cigarette smoke in the house. Definitely not as strong as I would have expected, judging by the amount of ash. Like I said, the ashtray was definitely empty and clean when I found it and put it on the table. I took a kitchen knife and carefully searched the entire house. Nobody was there. I checked all the doors and windows. They were locked. Then I searched the house again, checking was any cash or valuables missing, but it was all there. I called all my friends, even non-smokers, and asked them did they happen to drop by my house that day. They all said no. I also inspected locks for damage, but there didn't appear to be any. I changed locks, just in case, and had trouble sleeping for days afterwards. I actually stored the ash into the bag, and I still keep it in the drawer, just in case, though I doubt it will actually resolve or prove anything. The day after that bizarre incident, a murder took place in my neighborhood. A mentally disturbed girl with a history of drug abuse stabbed a convenience store cashier to death, following an argument over a pack of cigarettes. It is very likely unrelated, but sometimes I wonder. I don't keep spare keys in the yard, in front of the door or anything like that, in case someone is wondering. Not sure if this counts as paranormal exactly, but it creeped me and my roommate out. So my roommate and I lived in a 2-bedroom apartment with a shared living space. I had just laid down in bed to go to sleep for the night and my roommate was still up in the living room doing schoolwork. It was almost midnight. As I'm laying there on my phone, I get a call from a number I don't recognize. I answer it, expecting a telemarketer. Hello? A kind of high-pitched man's voice answers, "Hey, is this my name?" I should have hung up at this point. Yes, who is this? It's me, Derek. Remember, from high school? I was wondering if you wanted to talk. It's been forever. I went to an extremely small, rural high school 100, and there was no one in my graduating class, or any class named Derek. I said I don't know who you are, and as I'm hanging up I hear him say, "Wait, my name, wait," but I hung up anyway. The fact that this person knew my name is really weird, because not to brag, but my name is really unique, and I'm definitely the only person in my home county with that name. I went out into the living room to tell my roommate about it. As I'm telling her, she pulls up her phone and it asks, was it this number? She got a call from that same number at the same minute I did. She didn't answer the call and they left a voicemail. We listened to it and it kind of sounded like someone breathing maybe, or just moving. And then distantly, at the end it sounded like a group of people yelling, screaming, but it was distant. My roommate and I did go to the same high school, but we've changed numbers since we graduated, and there shouldn't have been anyone but close friends, 6 people who would have both of our numbers. The area code was in our home state, but it was really far away from our hometown, and we didn't know anyone there. Maybe I'm paranoid, but it really wigged us out. As a child, I moved around a lot, army brat, and I insisted that every house I moved to was haunted. Nothing major ever happened, just weird noises, opening doors, things being in places that makes no sense. It wasn't until my second year at uni that I clocked on that I was haunted, not the houses, after my housemate suggested it. Anyway, last year I was on the way to my uni house from my job at a bar at about 3 a.m. To get into the house you have to walk down a privately owned alleyway. Just as I reach the entrance to this alley, a man runs up behind me and spins me around. He's clearly had a bit too much to drink and starts trying to grab me, touch me up and convince me to remove my t-shirt. Naturally, I'm very uncomfortable and scared. I remember that the window to the house had an alarm that went off if the window was hit. I figured if I could get down the alley and hit the window, my male housemates would wake up and help. Only issue, every time I walked down the alley he'd grab me again. After maybe 5 minutes of a struggle, the man hit me. Next thing you know, the alarm on the window goes off, waking up my housemates and scaring off the man. Next day the police were called. We gave them access to the CCTV footage at either end of the alley. The man was caught on tape, but since most of the incident occurred in the alley, there was not enough evidence to charge. Later that day, my housemates and I decided to check the footage to see what caused the alarm to go off. There was nothing. No bird, cat or any other animal. The alarm just went off. This had never happened before and didn't happen any time after either. I'm convinced it was my ghost. It used to freak me out, but I'm kinda glad it's around now. When I was in college, I house sat for my parents. I'm a bit of a scaredy cat, so I locked every door leading up to the bedroom when I went to bed at night. I had the weirdest dream that someone unlocked each door and turned on every light. I felt cold and woke up to my dog barking. All of the lights in the house were on and every door open and unlocked. My dog wouldn't stop barking at nothing in the hallway. I sat in the shower with my dog and a phone the rest of night, scared to death. Have you ever sleepwalked before? Also, I too am a huge scaredy cat when I'm alone in my house. I have to quadruple check all the locks on every window and door in my house and ensure all doors are closed before I go to bed. I also make sure I leave the kitchen light on, so that it looks like someone's home from the outside. Occasionally, I hear random voices and small outbursts of unintelligible words. And by occasionally I mean maybe 2 or 3 times a year. I usually chalk that up to the fact stress can cause auditory hallucinations. This time though, I clearly heard my mom's voice yell my name, like she was right next to me. I shot up out of bed and all the lights were off. I was half asleep and terrified. Obviously, the power had just gone out since it was storming, but the scream from my mom's voice made it 1000x scarier in the moment. March 2015. My father passed a month or so earlier. I wasn't sleeping well. I would be up later and later at night. My father used to always give me shit for staying up so late because it's ruining my sleep schedule and affecting my work. Standard parenting stuff. It's about 2:30 a.m. and I'm watching YouTube on my PS4. Power in the house flickers. I check the window, no rain or wind or anything. I figured somebody hit a pole somewhere. Couple minutes later, power goes out for a second, comes right back on. Nothing was affected, which is weird because when power goes out, electronics reset. Check the window again. Still nothing happening outside. A couple minutes later, power goes out for almost a whole minute. From the couch, I can see the street light outside is still lit, as well as the other houses on the street. Power comes back on and everything is still as it was. Video continues where it left off. Clocks haven't reset. Nothing. It's now 2:37 a.m. I audibly said okay and went to bed. Next morning I wake up for work. The clock on the oven says 11 something am. My phone says 7:23. It was around 11 when my father left the house the day he passed. Fast forward to January of this year, 3-year anniversary of my father's passing. I can't sleep. I'm upstairs of my new home, watching Netflix. Power flickers and goes out. I immediately said okay, I'm going to bed. Power comes back on. Next morning, getting ready for work. Oven clock says 11:41 a.m. Dad doesn't like when I stay up till late. Do you like scary stories to fall asleep to? I post videos weekly. Follow Tofu Maverick for more scary stories from the web.